Yeah, there's a scar from where I fainted.
Even when I looked at your charts, they looked whack. By now, I'm sure you all know how much I love talking about tracking your menstrual cycle and tracking it old school with pen and paper as opposed to using an app. And there's a very good reason for this. Initially, a lot of people lose interest in fertility awareness and natural family planning because an app can do this for me. Why would I waste my time? Just like with anything, apps have their limitations. And one limitation is that they can tell you you're pregnant when you're not. Unfortunately, pregnancy scares are all too common when people use apps to track their cycle, and the amount of stress and trauma that it can bring about can all be avoided if we learn correct body literacy using pen and paper. But don't take it from me. Today we are going to hear Maya's story of how a particular cycle tracking app convinced her that she was pregnant.
Hey everyone, I'm Maya. I'm a pre and postnatal personal trainer, and I recently transitioned to coming off hormonal contraception and starting the fertility awareness journey.
So how did you learn about fertility awareness?
From you. No, it wasn't just you. I just knew I really wanted to come off it. I would always say to you, I really don't want to be on hormonal contraception. That was the one thing that was like not completely natural about me, and I could feel it having a difference on me. I felt like that fog. A lot of women speak about it. I really felt that fog, and I didn't know, is this my emotion? Is this just because I'm supposed to be near my period but I'm not actually going to come on? And most importantly, my periods were just so annoying. They weren't painful one bit, but they were just draining because they would start randomly at whatever time of the month, and just I would bleed and bleed and bleed, and it was just not nice. So I really wanted to come off, and it was more wanting and speaking to you which brought me to the attention of fertility awareness, but I just didn't think it was possible.
You started off by using an app, and you've been using that for about a year, or just under a year. How has that been for you up until now?
Up until now it's been good. Because I put all my trust in it, and I thought, this knows everything. It's crazy. It's telling me about myself. And it was asking me so many questions about my cervical mucus, my basal body temperature, my cervical position, my like how when I'm having sex, what kind of method I'm using for protection. So much things that I thought, surely this knows, because it's why would it be asking me so many things otherwise? But then I had a scare, which I think we're here to talk about.
With regards to your pregnancy scare, you're quite confident in understanding your own body. You have a great relationship with your body. Your intuition is really strong. So just walk us through it. What happened with your pregnancy scare?
So I had been using it, like you said, from last July till now. So it had been really, really perfect. Every month it was like predicting my periods for me. It was telling me when I ovulated based on data. Didn't specify what data, just data. And with me putting in my cervical mucus and my basal body temperature, I was assuming it was on both of those things. There's little reminders on there, like don't forget to track your cervical mucus every day. It really helps. Don't forget to take vitamin, blah blah blah.
It just does it for you. You don't have to think, right?
Honestly. It's
whereas
mindless.
When you're doing it with your pen and paper, you kind of got to remember, okay, I've got to take my temperature, I've got to do this. You've got to get yourself into that habit. It's not impossible, but it is a new skill to learn.
Even though, if I'm taking my temperature every morning, it's not that different putting it in my phone than it is putting it on a piece of paper, as I now know. So, anyway, this was working well for me. It was all brilliant. And then last month, I was really stressed. I was handing in a project and I had a deadline. So my temperatures were doing this the whole month. I was going up and down based on how stressed I was. I remember very clearly because, like you said, I've got to know my body, and I feel when I'm most fertile, and in that little period I'm very safe and I don't have unprotected sex. However, when I'm in my luteal phase, I can, because that's fine, you're allowed to.
You're infertile.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I'm avoiding pregnancy, so it's fine. So then I felt a bit I felt a bit stressed, and therefore I was feeling a bit nauseous. I was looking at a screen a lot, so I was having a lot of symptoms that you could kid yourself into thinking maybe pregnancy symptoms. And then I got a little notification on the app saying we can confirm your ovulation was actually 9 days later than expected, and you actually ovulated 2 days ago, which would mean I had unprotected sex a day before my ovulation. This threw me into complete insane panic.
As it would.
Honestly, and I called you, I called my boyfriend, I was just in pieces, I fainted, I can't, can you see that scar?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's a scar from where I fainted, on that hard, because I couldn't believe it. Like, I was just like, I'm going to have a baby, I can't believe this, I didn't plan for a baby right now. It was just the horriblest thing. And then I had to like log on and see my clients and be like, hey, so, and it was just the worst, calling you in between, and you were like, calm down, and it was just horrible time. So it was all because I really, really believe this app, and the app can only do so much. It's a calculator, it's not a human. So where I thought, because of all the data it's asking me, that it's taking all of that into account when it finds out when my ovulation is, it actually wasn't. The only thing it was taking into account was the numerical value that I was putting in, which was my temperature. And like I said, with my temperature doing this all month, it was making the wrong calculation of when it thought I'd ovulated.
So we actually looked at some reviews, and as I said before, apps have limitations. Everything does. Natural family planning has limitations as well, but you're not gonna think that you're pregnant when you're not. That's one, you will not, because you get to know your body on such a deep level. One thing that you said is you put all your trust into an app. That is one of the things, and even when you were speaking to me, I kept saying, I'm 99% sure that you're not pregnant, Maya, but I wasn't 100% sure, because even I felt intimidated by technology, because in general technology is always correct, but it's not when it comes to fertility awareness and natural family planning. Technology is not always the best thing. You doing it old school, pen and paper, it sounds long. With the app it sounds like, oh yeah, just put your things in, it's gonna plot it for you. But even when I looked at your charts, they looked whack.
You're gonna say that word?
Yeah. they just looked really wrong as I was trying to interpret them. The things that the app was saying, that oh, this is that, it wasn't how I would interpret it. So that's when I was like, okay, this is a bit off. So I think one of the things I wanted to have this conversation with you, I wanted you to share, because so many women message me and they're like, natural family planning doesn't work. Why are you promoting this? A lot of people hear about natural family planning and they confuse it with something called the rhythm method. Now the rhythm method is whack. My mentors literally say, what do you call people who are using the rhythm method? Parents, because it doesn't work as a contraceptive at all. The rhythm method assumes that every single person ovulates on day 14 and you have a 28-day cycle. It also uses past cycles, so previous data, to predict your current cycle. And that is another thing that you said the app does. It's not good. You shouldn't use anything in the past to predict what's going to happen. Your cycles between person and person, your cycle's never going to be the same. There's no like one cycle, and even between your own cycles personally, they're never going to be exactly the same. So using the previous cycle is very, very dangerous. This is where natural family planning or fertility awareness comes in so strong, because it uses your in real time data. Whatever's going on today, that is what you base your choices on. You make decisions based on what is going on in your body today. Ovulation might happen 3 or 4 days later, 3 or 4 days earlier each month, but you will be able to know if you're using natural family planning. And that is why I'm so strongly against using apps. Not using apps entirely for this. They do play their role, especially when it comes to just plugging in your data. But I do think that, you shouldn't take what the app says in terms of the analysis of your data. I think if you learn how to analyze your BBT and like the lines it's giving you and the graphs it's giving you, then it's cool, because even if it pops up and it says, we think you're pregnant, you're going to be able to know, okay, I'm not, because I can interpret what's going on, just like I did for you. So now Maya is going to learn natural family planning, and you're going to start doing it with pen and paper.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I know like we're laughing about it and it's funny now, but it was a super traumatic thing. And I know that so many other people, you're not the only one that's gone through that. We went through the reviews. There's a lot of reviews saying, oh, the app told me I was pregnant when I'm not. And I know a lot of people have probably gone through it. So what is 1 or 2 things that you would like whoever's watching this to take away from your experience?
Exactly what you said about the app. Don't put all your trust in an app. Be confident on what you know about your body. And unlike some women who've had this situation happen, I'm not like, oh my god, this was horrible, I'm never going through this again, let me jump back on the pill. I'm actually more sure and more happy with the fertility awareness method, because it's because of this method and my sureness about when I can have unprotected sex that I know, and is the reason that I'm not pregnant.
Yes.
So I'm happy with it. And the other thing I would say is, your body goes where your mind does. When I was calling you and I was in pieces, I was like, I've been nauseous all week, I've not come on my period yet, I'm having period pains but there's no period, I feel like my boobs are huge, I'm bloated, like so many things were in my head. And she was just like, do you actually feel nauseous, or do you think it's anything to do with the fact you've been looking at a screen for 9 hours a day? Like, you've really got to try and separate what you're feeling and what you think you should be feeling because of what you're telling yourself, if that makes sense. And as soon as she said, literally, your body goes where your mind does. So stop thinking about how you should be feeling or analysing things too much. Just listen to what your body's telling you. And within like 5 minutes, I stopped feeling nauseous and all the rest of the symptoms that I told myself I had. So try to do that. I know when you're in it, it is horrible. Yeah. I've been there. It was the worst ever. Every day I was like, but trust me, if I had my time again, I'd be a lot more calm.
You know your body. Even when Maya was telling me I think I'm pregnant, I was asking her the questions, and I could tell that, you know, you didn't have unprotected sex on, you know, in your fertile time. You know your body, you know this method, but this app just threw you off.
Absolutely.
And that is why I'll always say, try and distance yourself from an app. Just don't use an app, ideally, but I understand that for convenience is easy. Another thing that I want to end on is that natural family planning isn't just for people who are family planning, who are trying to use it for contraception or trying to get pregnant. It's also really important for general body literacy, because you can tell if there's something wrong inside. Essentially, you will see any warning signs from your cycle. You'll be the first one to see it, and you will see it in really good time. Timing is of the essence when it comes to fertility and health in general. So if you can catch, you know, anything abnormal in your cycle early on, the earlier the intervention, the better. So it's a way that you can work with your healthcare practitioner as well. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on, Maya.
My pleasure.
So here's 2 things we can take away from this situation. Number 1, don't put all your trust in an app. They have limitations. They can glitch. They can tell you you're pregnant when you're absolutely not. And that is why I am a pen and paper girl through and through. I highly recommend for any menstruating person to learn this skill. It truly is a skill for life. Regardless of your family planning intention, body literacy in general is just so important. And 2, you cannot predict your cycle in any situation. Regardless of how regular you may think that your cycles are, life happens. And that means ovulation might come a day or 2 early or a day or 2 late. Your period may be a little bit early or maybe a little bit late. Learning to chart your cycle with pen and paper is a great mindfulness exercise. It really keeps you in the moment, and it can really help avoid these difficult situations that many people find themselves in. Essentially, it means that you have to make decisions based on your data right now. Thank you so much for watching that video. As always, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. Let's talk about fertility awareness, charting your cycles, all of that good stuff.